Welcome to the Morning Nerdy News. I'm your host, Brandon, aka the Gray Falcon. We've got lots of interesting bits of news, everything from Stadia to Gamestonk to Nintendo updates, Sony Santa Monica, all kinds of great information out there today. But I just want to remind everyone that if you enjoy my programming and you want to make sure you keep up to date on when it comes out, or just to help a guy out so he gets those, follows, those subscribes because you enjoy the content, make sure you click those buttons down there. So again, Twitch, you press the follow button. If you're over there on YouTube, click the subscribe button. You want to get the updates on when it comes out, make sure you click the bell. Or you can simply follow me on Twitter as The Gray Falcon, and you'll get the updates as to when I'm going live from there as well. Or if you just want to hang out and see what's going on in off hours. All right, here we go. First up, we're going to cover Stadia. So focusing on Stadia's future as a platform and Windows down SG&E. What this all comes down to is Stadia says we're closing our game studios. They're first-party ones. They're going to focus on third-party game studios. So it's not like it's completely going away. But the fact that they're already giving up on its first-party studios when we really haven't even seen a big first-party game. I mean, they went over and grabbed players from Sony who worked on Last of Us and Uncharted, and they grabbed big names in the industry with the expectation that something huge was going to come out of this. And here we are 2 years in, and they're already giving up on these people. It's like, okay, so what have you done for us today? Well, you don't have a game. We're 2 years in, so you're out the door. You're obviously not performing well enough is what this says to these people, which is ridiculous. This is Google sitting on their arrogance and going, oh, we're going to start cutting our losses now. We can do this better if we just do third-party stuff. And I feel bad for all the workers for Stadia, and they say they're going to try and find them positions in other places. But come on, let's be honest. If you came over to work on Stadia, chances are you're a game developer. Chances are you are there because you love games and you wanted to create and build something new with this new platform. You wanted to be a part of the start. And sure, maybe you knew Google's, history with things and you were aware. Maybe they didn't. Maybe it wasn't something that they paid close attention to when they got hired on. But they're basically being kicked out the door for this extremely, extremely great talent. And they're saying, good luck out there. Well, they don't have anything to show for what they were working on for the last few years. Now, a lot of these people will probably have enough of a portfolio behind them to go and get hired wherever they want. However, anybody who is lower down the chain, who hasn't been in the industry for very long, and this was their break-in, it's got to be disappointing for those people, because now they're going to have to struggle and find a job and hope that maybe one of these other people that are going somewhere else knows them or has worked with them and knows, oh, this person's great. Maybe I can recommend them to get in where I'm getting hired as well. We'll have to find out about that, but this is Google being Google again. So much for that don't be evil, Google. You're pretty much ruining the lives of lots of people here, and I hope that they all can land on their feet and get out somewhere and have a better career other than this. And with any luck, it won't be at Activision. All right, now let's go ahead and move over to some Sony news. So Sony Santa Monica Studios, which if you didn't know is hiring, but that's not the point of what this is today. They have announced that the God of War 2018 enhanced performance experience for the PS5 is coming tomorrow. Now this was yesterday, so that means today you'll be able to get that download setup, be able to play with 60 frames per second at 4K with checkerboard resolution, 2160p, and free updates for PS5 users. So this is good. Unlike going in with Miles, we're not going to have to pay for that upgrade for like we did with Spider-Man. We were kind of looking at this and we were worried that Sony was going to come out here and go, well, the new God of War comes out this year, so if you want the upgraded version of God of War, you're going to have to pay extra money. And they're already setting their games for their full big games at $70. So the next thing you know, you're paying $90, $100 in order to get the enhanced version. Luckily, that isn't happening here. We are still going to have that extra cost on Sony's end for the new God of War this year, unfortunately. But it is nice to see that because this is a full-priced game where Miles Morales was a shorter experience, so it was only about $40, $50. I got it on sale for $30 used. So sorry, Sony, I wasn't about to spend a huge chunk of money on a 10-hour experience. But yeah, I played through that and beat it super quick, which is why they were pushing for that. They wanted that extra cash in hand for that game, since they weren't actually getting as much money out of it for that shorter playthrough. Even though it should have been fairly quick development because the world, for the most part, was already built. They just had to tweak it and adjust it for Miles and then put in those upgrades for it. So I don't think it was as tough of a development cycle as the original Spider-Man would be, or perhaps the new God of War is going to be, because it'll be created totally brand new environments. We'll see if they have some reuse or not. But very happy to see this coming out for free. So please, and go out, enjoy this. If you haven't played it already, maybe pick it up on some great sale, pop it in your system, and enjoy what was probably the best, maybe the second best game of the entire generation for PS4. All right, and moving forward, we have Nintendo news with Nintendo Switch just had its best quarter yet. So the information we have going into here is that Nintendo sold 11.57 million Switch consoles last quarter, bringing its lifetime sales to 79.87 million. That's a 7% increase on the same period last year. And where this is kind of impressive is they are comparing this to the Game Boy Advanced, which sold 81.51 million sales. And they're looking at this as Game Boy Advanced, I believe, is the best-selling mobile console ever. So they are treating this as a mobile in that regard. We'll still have to see if they catch up to the Wii, because the Wii was absolutely fantastic in regards to sales. And maybe not for this one getting up there. But right now, they are doing well, and they are loving life over there. Even with the new systems coming out for Sony and Xbox, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people went and bought this for Christmas instead for someone, simply because they couldn't get their hands on one of Sony or Microsoft's new consoles. But in a little bit of a downside in gaming, Valve is getting sued for abusing Steam to keep PC game prices high. Now, you might be wondering, how are they doing that? Well, apparently the lawsuit claims that within the contract that game developers have to sign to get their game on their platform, they have to guarantee that the price will be the same on other platforms. So if you want to put your game on the Epic Game Store, you want to put your game over on the Microsoft Store, you want to put it up on GOG, any of these other party stores that sell these games, you have to sign a contract with them that says the game will guarantee to be the same price everywhere you're putting it out. And GOG might be willing to put that game out for $10 less and take a little bit of a hit on their end in order to sell more copies of it and get more people on their platform. Microsoft is definitely a company that would probably be willing to take a little bit of a hit in the front end in order to gain more money in the long term because of something like this. So them doing this, they say, is actually hurting competition and having them dictate what the price is going to be. Now, granted, you could choose to release your game only on Epic or only on Microsoft and potentially have it at a lower price with those. Who knows? Maybe their contracts say the exact same thing. This might not be out of the norm for this type of industry. GOG might even do this for all I know. So I can't really say for sure that one way or another that this is not a business practice that's already a part of that in other parts of the same industry, but it is one of those things that just say, if this is something that is happening, maybe this shouldn't be in those, because this is kind of regulating the system if you want to be on the biggest platform for PC gaming. All right, and then we have the Gamestonk news. So first up, we have someone who's already sold the movie rights to an unpublished Gamestonk book. So we have this guy, he's writing a book about it, and he's already sold the movie rights for this book to MGM. So we already know we're getting one movie out of this for a book that isn't even created. So Ben Menzrich is the person who is supposedly creating this book, and he created the 2009 book about the Facebook founding, the accidental billionaires. And so this is kind of one of those interesting things where it's like, okay, he does have a little bit of a history with this, so I can kind of see why they are paying this upfront money in order to get this written. And who knows, if he gets the proper interviews and things, I don't know how well this is going to work, because the best he can do is probably get in there and do an interview with some of the people who have invested in this. Maybe he'll get interviews with some of the higher powered people who put in a lot of money and became millionaires or billionaires over this whole setup. I don't know. We'll see. This whole thing still hasn't even played out, so we still don't have an ending for what's going on, and it's already selling. But on the other hand, we also have Netflix creating a competing one, and they say Netflix wants to make a GameStop stock movie as well, and this one is over on Polygon in comparison to Kotaku for the other one. And who knows? This is supposed to be completely separate. It's Mark Borrell, who is the writer for the Detroit and Triple Frontier, and he's in negotiations for writing this film. So we are going to have multiple perspectives on this. We'll find out in the long term whether or not we're going to have, like, Netflix does a lot of documentaries, so it's possible that the Netflix one is more of a documentary, and it could turn out that the MGM one is more of a based on a true story type of movie. And we could get two very different stories told in these, simply because based on a true story is there for entertainment with some facts of history, where Netflix documentaries are there to give the truth of, at least of the people who are being interviewed of it, see it, and tell about things from that. So if you've seen any of the Netflix documentaries, they're great. They have, like, the toys that made us. They have the movies that made us. They even have a documentary on swear words, so all kinds of fun stuff over there. So I'm kind of hoping it goes down that route and maybe leave the fantasy over to MGM, where I don't know that one would necessarily do as well as something that's more focused on the actual entirety of what occurred. Or who knows, maybe they both exist in parallel and both do great because of their different perspectives. But we're going to go ahead and move over into tech news, and SpaceX's second high-altitude Starship test flight could happen today. So if you haven't been paying attention, SpaceX has been working on a new high-altitude Starship. They finally got one up off the ground and managed a successful test, and this is going to be the second one in order to try and accomplish this with the ship. Unfortunately, they have had a lot of tests with these types of things that have gone bad. They've had a lot of them that were canceled because something went wrong, something that in the engineering where a weld failed, or they found a hole that maybe was supposed to be there but was causing more problems than it was supposed to. So hopefully this is a success today. Not that SpaceX doesn't have rockets going up into space already, but this is just a different type of rocket. They are trying to expand and make things more cost effective, making them capable for trips to Mars or other places. So they need to work on new rocket ship designs that are going to perform better for these different tasks, rather than just the simple get up in the air, release some satellites, and move on. Now, not that those endeavors aren't great, because we are getting Starlink out of that. And if you don't know what Starlink is, that is Elon's basically internet service. He is providing satellite internet service. The intent is to be able to give satellite internet to everyone around the world. And at that point, you don't have to own a cell phone in order to make calls, if that's the case, because you have internet everywhere. And all of a sudden, you're in the middle of the jungle. You can dial up over your internet to make a call. And that would be absolutely fantastic to see a new competition in a manner that allows you to have internet everywhere you go. You no longer have to worry about fees or charges for traveling the world like you would with most cell phone companies. And it's all built under one price. So we'll see how that turns out. But that's a whole other subject that I'm not going to get too far into today. All right, and then we have one last piece of news, and this is over on Disney Plus, where they are getting a Wakanda series. And this is a spin-off of the Black Panther movie. We're not entirely sure what's going to happen with this. It does seem like we'll probably get characters from the Black Panther movie to be the main characters within this, but there's not a whole lot of information that is given. It is being done by director Ryan Coogler, and he's done really good work in the past, so we expect that to continue with this series. Where we go from here, given that our Black Panther has unfortunately passed away and Disney has said that they are not going to replace him, I don't know. Now, given that Black Panther is kind of the leader of the Wakanda society, they could simply have him pass away in the movies in some way, do the Princess Leia thing, do what they did with Luke Skywalker potentially in The Mandalorian, and recreate this character and let them go and exist there. Or it's entirely possible that they don't bring him up as a part of this at all. They talk about him as if he's off doing something else, and society for the Wakanda people is existing without him for a little bit. Either way, I'm very excited about this. This is an incredible world, and I look forward to them expanding on this and seeing where they go with this series. But that's going to be it for today. Thanks for hanging out. Remember, if you haven't already, click that follow button. If you're checking me out over on YouTube later on in the day with this, click the subscribe button. You want those updates, click the bell afterwards. Or if you just want the updates or you want to hear what's going on throughout my day, go over, follow me on Twitter. It's the Gray Falcon over there. All of these have the little underscores between them. So if you just type it in, if you don't put the underscore in, it might not find me. But make sure you check me out over there as well. But until next time, have a good one.